morning, good morning, good morning. I am so thrilled to be before you once again on this day. Remember, if this video speaks to you in any kind of way, feel free to like, comment, and share. This is Empowerment365 with Jamarr Williams. I am your host, Jamarr, with two R's Williams, and I am so glad to be able to bring you your daily dose of motivation, inspiration, and empowerment. Without further ado, let's get started. Today is Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, and today's quote is, "My past and my background no longer serve as barriers, and therefore I will not allow any of my past mistakes, errors, or mishaps to hinder me any longer." I will say that once again. My past and my background no longer serve as barriers, and therefore I will not allow any of my past mistakes, errors, or mishaps to hinder me any longer. Let's talk about our first point. The first point is all about accepting accepting the matters of the past. Let's be perfectly blunt at this point. Some of you may have history of drug abuse, incarceration, domestic violence, poverty, misfortune, homelessness, addiction such as sex and gambling, poor decision making. Some of you may have a history of making selfish choices that not only affected you but affected your loved ones. Here's the idea about the past. You cannot change it. Number two, we are not perfect. You are not perfect. I am not perfect. None of us can attest to being perfect. We need to be able to accept the past for what it is. We cannot control it. We cannot change it. We cannot reimagine it. If we cannot accept it, it truly can hold us hostage. All right, so we have to be able to make a commitment to ourselves of being able to accept us, how we played what role we played in that moment, in that experience, in that past. We have to be willing to accept that and accept how we are going to grow from it and how we are currently growing from it. We have to be willing to free ourselves in our minds and in our hearts from that past experience. So that brings me to my next point, the conviction of the past. Remember, we talked about the conviction, what conviction truly is when it comes to your truth, all right? I talked about how we have to be willing to accept who we are, who we were in that experience, and how we choose to strive to become, how we choose to become someone better. So as far as becoming someone better, yes, we are accept ourselves in that situation, but we also have to be willing to strive to become better. So let's be able to look in the mirror and tell ourselves four different things. First and foremost, be willing to tell yourself, look in the mirror and tell yourself, thank you. Thank you, because you know what? In spite of the fact that you went through the experience, you survived it. In spite of the fact that you were in the dark tunnel, you kept pushing, you kept walking, you kept striving and found your way to the end of that dark tunnel, and you finally saw the sun again. In spite of the fact that you suffered through the incarceration, suffered through the divorce, suffered through the drug abuse, suffered through the homelessness, guess what? You learned from it, you grew from it, and today you need to be able to tell yourself, thank you, because without you, you would not have gotten through the experience. Number two, be able to tell yourself, I love you. I know I didn't always express it. I know I didn't always exhibit it in the proper manner. I know I didn't always show it. But guess what? Look in the mirror and give yourself the biggest hug you can and be able to tell yourself, hey, today, I love you. Number three, you want to be able to tell yourself, I apologize. Some of us have trouble simply apologizing to ourselves. Look in the mirror today and be able to tell yourself, you know what? I apologize to you. It hurt you. It damaged you. It deteriorated you. It diminished your wealth. It diminished your character, diminished your value. But I apologize to you today. Let's be better. I want to be better. Finally, once you apologize to yourself, be willing to say, you know what? I forgive you. Yeah, it did hurt me. Yeah, it did cause me to, have to suffer through this. Yes, it did cause me to have to face this. Yes, it did cause me to lose this. But guess what? I want to move on from it. So not only do I apologize to myself, I also forgive myself. Once we are able to tell ourselves these four things, we can begin to tell others these things as well. Third point that I'm going to make, I put a post up on Facebook on September 4th. You can go back on my page and see it for yourself. And it says this: the days in which I allow people to include, but not limited to, myself, to continue to hold me hostage for past mistakes are slowly decaying and coming to a permanent end. What does that mean? Going back to our first point, we have to come to a place of courage within ourselves where we are strong enough to accept the past that is within us, where we do not allow ourselves to hold that umbrella of guilt, umbrella of guilt, that umbrella of shame over our head. We got to allow ourselves not to be able to do that within ourselves, and we got to allow other people not to be able to do that. We get it. You have a past. You have a story. We all do. We all have things that we may not be so proud of, that we may not, that we wish maybe we can somewhat take back. But once again, it is the past. There is no looking back. We have to be willing to move forward. So don't allow yourself or others to hold that past mistake, that past experience over your head. The fourth and final point that I am going to make is that your past cannot stop you from pursuing that which you are passionate about. Your past cannot stop you from achieving and building your legacy. I remember reading a quote not too long ago. I think it was about 4 weeks ago. One of my Facebook friends put up this post. He said this: a felony may be able to stop you from applying for a job, but it cannot stop you from applying for an LLC. That is a limited liability company. Your past, yes, we get it. We get it. Some of you may have felonies on your record. We get how that can hinder you in society. It may be able to stop you from being eligible for that next job, that you applied for. It may be able to stop you from being eligible for that next benefit. But guess what? It cannot stop you from applying for your own business license. It cannot stop you from applying for your own LLC, limited liability company. Guess what? It can't even stop you from starting your own nonprofit organization if you wish to do that. It cannot stop legacy. So I leave us with this charge today to understand and accept our past and be willing to begin, if you have not already done so, begin the forward movement process. Let's start the healing process. Let's start the growth process. Let's start the elevation process. Let's start the personal development process. Let's be willing to grow from our past. Let's be willing to accept our past. Let's be willing to accept the role that we played in that past experience. Let's be willing to forgive and thank and love and, of course, apologize to ourselves. Let's begin the forward movement process. We can do it. Why? Because we are all champions. This has been Empowerment365 with Jamarr Williams. I am your host, Jamarr, with 2 R's Williams, signing off.